Throughout my whole basketball career, people thought I wouldn't be able to make it as far as I have. Just the doubts and how can you play with one arm. Those kinds of things really kind of drove me. It was a motivator to kind of prove them wrong. Basketball consists of a lot of dribbling things, and looking to the sideline and seeing my teammates do it so easy, but I struggle a lot because I can't dribble with my right arm. I had to be confident in myself and not, compare myself to everybody else. So I kind of learned to do that, and it was important for me because if I looked left and right, then I would easily become discouraged or I feel like I wasn't enough to be here. But I learned, and with some support of my coaches, with some support of my teammates, I knew that they never looked at me different, so why should I look at myself any different? During birth, there was some complications, and during delivery, I was pulled and they ruptured the nerves in my neck. It's called the brachial plexus region. For my first 2 years of life, I didn't have any mobility in that arm. I couldn't move it at all.
So when she had her first surgery around 3 years old, her arm was up in a cast. Her arm was up for 8 weeks, and she had a body cast on with a rod running through. And the things she did at that point in time with that, being in that condition, at 4 she was tying a shoe. Ask me how she did it. I can't explain to you how she did it. I have no clue, but she would walk the monkey bar better than any kids on the playground.
It has about 20% range compared to my left arm. So some things that I can't do, I can't flip it, so that's probably about how far it goes. Raised above my head, that's probably about how far it goes. I can't tuck it behind my back, can't lay my palm flat. Growing up, it was difficult just to get used to that, but I figured out different ways to do things. Playing basketball, everything I do is with my left. My right arm, I could probably count on the number on my fingers how many times I used it to touch the ball, to dribble. It got to the point where, I forgot about it.
When she first started playing basketball, she played with the boys, 2nd, 3rd grade. They didn't have a girls team. There were no excuses. She had to excel and be just as good.
I had a really good support system growing up with my parents and my brother, and they didn't look at me any different. They didn't treat me any different. They made sure that I knew that I was just like everybody else. So when it came to playing basketball, I felt that way. I never really let it drag me down.
Ajah played on one of the best high school teams in the country, so there was a lot of other college coaches coming through. Coach Versa saw her play in front of some of her other elite recruits, thought she did really well, and then we finally got to the point where it was time for her to go to college. And Coach Versa said, I do not have a scholarship that I can offer her, but if she would accept a walk-on, I would gladly bring her on.
Coach Versa she brought me in a time where I was very unsure about how coaches felt about my arm. Coming up in AAU, I would have coaches say, yeah, she's good, but I don't know if she can play because of her arm. And Coach Versa, being the head coach of a program such as Purdue's with such a rich history of winning, accepting me while other coaches wouldn't, and letting me be a part of this tradition, it was super special for me. She pushed us to be the best people that we could be. She cared about us. Upon her departure, Coach Gerald came in. Coach Gerald didn't have to give me a scholarship, but she gave me that opportunity to stay here and finish out my 4th year. Super appreciative for that.
Coming in as a head coach, a new head coach, and having someone who was a walk-on get a scholarship, she was one that really helped the entire team gravitate to me because I was a new coach and she didn't have to do that, right? So her leadership on the court was just contagious to everybody. Ajah knew what her job was. Her job was to be the best and consummate teammate she could be. She was going to make sure she was doing everything right in the classroom and on the court to be that great teammate. One thing we say is, love basketball and protect your team, and Ajah embodied that. She loved coming to practice. She always had a smile on her face, knew you were going to get everything from her, and then there was nothing she wasn't going to do for her teammates, and really that's what being a Purdue women's basketball player is all about.
Being somebody that somebody can look up to, especially near my last years here, I was always supportive of my teammates. There was definitely days where it was hard. we feel discouraged after a practice or a game, and it takes a community to build us all up after those challenges, you know. So I kind of took the initiative with a lot of my teammates when they were in those spaces to reach out to them, to support them, to be there for them.
I feel like Ajah really helped me to balance social life and academics at the same time. I'm definitely very school-oriented, and I get really stressed over schoolwork. You know, she helped me to get out and go out, whether it's just going out to eat with her or doing something fun or just kind of stepping away and having a life outside of school.
You know, last year we won 17 ball games, and whether she touched the court or not, she was a big reason for that to happen. And one of the cool moments for me this past year was our last game of the year. Ajah scored our last bucket. So her last game on Mackey Arena, she was able to score the last 2 points of the season. Her ability to fight through adversity, not make excuses, and play the cards she was dealt, and she did it better than anybody I think I've ever seen in my entire life.